Hi, this is Randy Kirk, and today we're going to be talking about Elon Musk and what he says matters, okay? And I've taken him at his word. I have built my entire YouTube channel. I've built my books. I've built everything that I've done with regard to prognosticating and thinking about the future under an Elon Musk economy. I've done it all based on what he says. A lot of people think he's a liar and a charlatan and, a huckster and all this kind of stuff. No, I've studied him. I've watched him. I've carefully analyzed what he's said. I've carefully taken a look at what he said in the past and what he's done. He is optimistic. He's enthusiastic. He hyperbolizes, but he doesn't lie. He tells you what he believes is true. And if you believe in Elon, or you believe that he tells you what is true, that to the best of his ability, then you can project. You can take what he says, you can project into the future, and you can make pretty good decisions about things like whether you buy stock, whether you buy his products, whether you recommend his products and stocks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It makes it so much more fun to follow Elon if you carefully listen to what he says and then analyze it for the purposes of making smart decisions. Having said that, let me take a real quick break to say, if you like this kind of content, please like it. I'm gonna absolutely assure you that you're gonna like the content tomorrow morning. You're gonna want to look for the video that's coming out tomorrow morning. Maybe you want to subscribe right now and get a notification button so that you make sure that you're notified when this comes out tomorrow morning, because you're not going to want to miss it. I've just finished a long interview, over an hour interview with Dylan Loomis of Electrified, and it was electrifying. it was a great conversation. I think you're going to find that there's a lot of useful information, as well as just getting to know Dylan a little better. This is not all about, we spent a lot of time talking about Tesla, about the earnings call, et cetera, but we also talk about about Dylan Loomis, the man. Okay, and I think you'll be excited to see a little bit more about what makes him tick. So now diving into 10 things that Elon Musk has said. I'm not going to use quotes here. I'm just going to use rough paraphrases. Sometimes I've memorized them, so they might be really close to the quote. But let's go down the 10 things that I think you should pay attention to if you want to really follow the company and know what's going to happen next. Okay, let's start with number one. I'm going to back up real quick. Let me talk about communication for a second. In my book, The Elon Musk Method, I spent a lot of time talking about Elon Musk, the communicator. So it's not just a matter of telling the truth. There's a lot more to it than just telling the truth. A great leader must be a great communicator, and Elon Musk is an amazing communicator. He has a clear-cut mission. He has the ability to provide you with clarity with regard to his mission, to say it out loud, to say it over and over again, and then to talk in terms of the details of the mission so that you get it. In giving out his clarity in terms of the mission, in terms of his methods, in terms of how he's going to get to his mission, in terms of the specific goals and all the rest that goes around that, there are 4 people that are listening. And you're one of them: investors and people that are just interested in the whole future of Tesla and the things that Elon Musk is doing. But his employees are listening. Why? They want to be able to meet his expectations. If they have clarity of what his expectations are, then they'll be able to meet those expectations, or attempt to at least work on meeting those expectations. How many bosses have you maybe worked for where they were not clear at all on their expectations? And so you had to work not knowing the expectations and therefore just doing what you thought maybe those expectations were, and sometimes getting it completely wrong. Elon is very clear on his expectations, as I'm sure some of you already know. Number 2 would be suppliers. Now, suppliers want to know expectations too, but they also need to trust what's being said, because Elon is thinking 4, 5, 6, 7 years out. And he's asking suppliers to prepare for something that's 4, 5, 6, 7 years out. As a supplier, None of my customers were coming to me and talking about what I was going to be doing 5 years from now. I might have been able to tell them if they asked, but nobody was thinking that far out. He's asking them to trust him that he is going to be producing at certain levels 4, 5, 6, 7 years out in order for them to ramp, to put in the factories, to mine the minerals, to do whatever is necessary to get to that situation 5 years out. As a investor, obviously, the more clarity, the better you are able to predict what future return is going to be on your investment, on the stocks that you may be purchasing in this situation. So the past few weeks, Elon's done a lot of communicating. We've had the opening or the announcement with regard to the new facility in Sparks, Nevada, that's being added there to make semi-trucks and to make more of the batteries. And you've had the earnings call yesterday, plus several additional times when he's been in the news or been on Twitter saying various things. In fact, the very latest thing is that he said that he had a good meeting with Speaker McCarthy and with the head of the Democratic Party, and that's all he said. He had a great meeting with them about Twitter, and that Twitter would be fair for all parties. So let's talk about the 10 things now. We finally got to that part. All right. The mission is still accelerating the change from fossil fuels to renewables. It hasn't changed. That's still the mission. The mission is not to make billions of dollars. The mission is not to make hundreds of thousands of cars. The mission is not to install the most solar panels. No, the mission is about accelerating the transition to sustainable energy and eliminating fossil fuels. That's the mission. Hasn't changed. You need to pay attention to that because it drives everything that the company does. You may want to look at a video I did a couple of days ago where I was Techno King for a day, and I had to make choices between the amazing things that are currently on the plate of Tesla, the amazing opportunities they have in so many different directions, and how do you make choices between opening this kind of factory or that kind of factory, or emphasizing this product versus that product. It's always going to be done based on the mission. Number two, he just reiterated, there are 3 pillars to the mission. Electrification of vehicles of all types. Pay attention to that, of all types. So there's been some conversation recently about large ocean-going vessels, cargo vessels. He's talked about vertical liftoff and takeoff and landing vehicles. Says he doesn't have time, doesn't have the bandwidth to be able to do those now, but that's another vehicle that could come from electrification. So all types, vehicles of all types, semi-trucks, trucks that are smaller than semi-trucks, cars of all types. All right, so we pay attention to that. It's part of what we need to understand as we go forward with Elon into the future. The second pillar is solar and wind production of energy. There wasn't much more said recently about solar ramps or how they're doing with solar. It seems to be backseat right now, but energy storage, which is the third pillar, affects solar installations and wind installations. Some of those are slowed down. They could be going faster if there was more battery production. And so these two go hand in hand. So the emphasis that's being placed right now on energy storage production is partially a result of the need to be able to support these solar and wind installations worldwide. You also need the batteries to support the semi-trucks. And you also need the batteries to support these supercharger stations. So lots of issues going on there. Number 4, he stated there will be announcements about additional factory capacity for megapacks, and that the megapack factory in Lathrop is, doing its ramp. I think that the community has really begun to understand that megapacks are really, really, really important. I don't think the street has a clue. I think it's going to take until the second or third quarter reporting before the street's going to get it. But maybe part of the increase of 11%, over almost 12% on the stock market today might have had to do with some additional people getting the energy story. So that's number 4. Number 5, the auto plan is clear. Nothing has changed on the auto plan. It's 50% per year for the foreseeable future, but some years that might be 80%, and some years that might be 42%. In some years that might mean it's 46% in production, but it's only 42% in sales because there's a lot of cars that are in transit at the end of the quarter. Don't worry about the specific quarter. Don't worry about the year. It's 50% per year over time. He is way ahead of that. He put up a chart to show that they're way ahead of that 50% ramp. If starting with 2020 of 500,000 units, that would put us right now going into 2023, in 2023, 1.7 million vehicles. He's saying 1.8 million vehicles with a chuckle, meaning he knows that that's a ridiculously low number, but that the street wants something. But that's 100,000 more than the 50% ramp starting in 2020. For 2023, that would be 2.5. For 2024, 2.5. I was predicting 2.5 for 2023. So I think it's a walk in the park to do 2.5 for 2024. And that would be 3.7 million cars for 2025. Isn't that enough? Don't you think that that would make the company worth a lot of money? Even if we were just going based on those numbers, 3.7 million cars in 2025 should make everybody pretty excited about the Tesla automotive division. Now, I think it's going to be more. I think they're sandbagging. I think there's no reason why it can't be a lot more than that. But guess what? If you keep extrapolating out 50% per year over the next 7 years, you easily get to the 20 million way before 2030. So take into consideration that it's 50% per year average over time, and that we're already ahead of that number and clearly going to be ahead of it in 2023, and that the numbers get really, really big in the next couple of years just by continuing to do that ramp. 6, he said yesterday, watch the operating margin. In other words, he's suggesting, years ago, he said, take your eyes off of the daily stock price. It's not about the daily stock price. Years ago, now he's saying, take your eyes off of the quarterly unit sales. Don't worry about it. There's going to be cars in transition. There's going to be cars on trucks. Don't worry about that. Worry about the overall plan. And in this particular plan, the emphasis right now is going to be on operating margins. Over and over again, they talked about we're looking for ways to cut costs on the vehicles, cut costs on the factories, cut costs on all types of overhead. We're working on cutting costs. So watch the operating margin. Now, as an investor, isn't that what you want to hear? At the end of the day, the operating margin is what's going to determine whether or not the stock goes to the moon, which it's gonna. So, but that's what we're looking for. If you're an investor in any company, what you're looking for is what is the return on investment, and the operating margin is what's going to tell you that. Number 7, I said it a few minutes ago, batteries are the key to everything. He said that again, including products that are not yet announced. Now, that was an interesting one. So what products are not announced that might need batteries? Again, we talked about just a second ago, cargo ships, could be trucks that are like vans, or larger trucks that are not full-size semis. It could be trucks that are different than the semis that they need for China or for Europe or for India, that are smaller, different kinds of trucks. It could be vertical liftoff and landing. I always forget. Never mind. You know what I'm talking about. It could be any other kind of vehicle. He did mention other commercial vehicles. I think that's a different number down here, but that would also be included in there. But maybe there's something entirely different that we're not thinking of that would be not yet announced that uses batteries. I'm all ears. I can't wait to hear what that might be. His goal, listen to him carefully, his goal is to do 1 terawatt of domestic production of batteries. Now, if you just take that goal, 1 terawatt of domestic production, and you multiply it times $500 a kilowatt hour, which is the average across all hosts. In other words, what they charge for the energy storage, what they charge for cars, et cetera, et cetera. This is a famous Warren Redlich back of the napkin analysis, and it works. You can use it all the time. It might even be higher than 500, but in the future it might be a little lower. But if you use that number, it kind of works out. Well, at 1 terawatt, if that's all he was doing was making a terawatt worth of energy and putting it into cars and trucks and energy storage and everything else at 500 per kilowatt hour, that would be $500 billion in sales. Let that sink in. And that doesn't count all the other things that the company's doing. So, and it doesn't count the foreign manufacturing of batteries, and it doesn't count the purchases from third parties, which he said, I will still buy as many third-party batteries as I can get. This is what Elon is saying. So please understand, the goal is really 3 terawatts by 2030, and 3 terawatts times that, say, 500 would make it $1.5 trillion in sales, not counting robots, not counting insurance, not counting robotaxis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just conservative analysis based on what Elon has said. Now, will he get to 3 terawatts? I don't know. You don't know. But he's on that track. And this is what he said. And this is what he's trying to do. And I'm not sure that I see any way that he doesn't get there. But anything could happen between now and 2030. Okay. So number 8 was that he still wants batteries from other suppliers. Number 9 is, he said, we are better. Tesla is better situated to weather a recession than any other car company. Oh, wait a minute. He didn't say any other car company. He said any other company. Everybody assumed, I even assumed when he said it, he meant car company, but maybe he meant any company, because what other mega company is out there, mega cap company is out there that is planning to increase their sales 50% next year? None. Oh, no. You mean not even in a good year do mega cap companies increase their sales by 50%? Well, that would be true. So with $24 billion in the bank and no debt, and the expectation of increasing sales by 50% in a recessionary year, no, there's no other company like that. I guess that puts him kind of in a class by himself. Okay, so that's, what can I say? And then finally, semi-trucks. So in terms of the mission, semi-trucks might be the most important. And I've been asking people like Dylan Loomis, you'll hear what he has to say tomorrow, what is really more important? We have these 3 pillars. Which one should we emphasize? We can't do it all at once. How do we emphasize semi-trucks versus energy versus auto versus all the other things that Tesla is doing? Semi-trucks have some incredible advantages in terms of the environmental impact compared to cars. Sound pollution is a big thing. Brake dust pollution is another huge thing. The reduction in the use of fossil fuels is huge compared to cars. So should semi-trucks have more emphasis than cars? And what is the real plan with regard to semi-trucks over the next 5, 6, 7 years? How many are they ultimately planning to build? And when I say semi-trucks, I mean all large trucks. Well, if this has been useful, please push the like button. Please join me tomorrow morning and take part in the conversation with Dylan Loomis. I think you'll really like it. And hey, it's been great talking to you.